Here, I have a basketball, one of the most popular sports played by people all over the world for many years. This ball gave me some of the happiest and best times of my life, but it also gave me some of the darkest and worst times of my life. All across our world today, college athletes of all levels are struggling immensely with mental health issues. My name is Anthony Pompilii, and tonight I want to talk to you about my own story of college athletics and mental health issues, the mental health struggles of everyday college athletes from Division I to Division II and to Division III. And I want to talk about what we can do to help fight this problem. But first, I want to start with my own story. Growing up, I was heavily involved in athletics, and I played baseball, football, and basketball. Now, although I loved all of these sports, basketball was different for me. The more I played the game, the more I fell in love. Going into middle school, I had a hoop right outside my house, and I lived in a cul-de-sac with neighbors very close to me, and oftentimes my parents would receive complaints from my neighbors saying, "Hey, can Anthony wait a little bit before he goes outside to play today? I don't want to hear the ball bouncing that loud." I remember waking up before school at 6 a.m. to get extra shots up. I remember working on my passing, my dribbling, my shooting skills constantly, pounding away on the blacktop for hours at a time. During my 8th grade year, I played for a local YMCA basketball team with all of my best friends, and we even won the championship game. This fueled my fire going into high school. Although I didn't go to a high school that was necessarily known for its basketball talent, I wanted to prove to everyone in my local area that I could be the best high school basketball player that I could be. Going into 9th grade, I had 2 goals set in mind. 1, score 1,000 points. And 2, get recruited to play college basketball. Those were my goals, and I was going to do anything to achieve them. After 3 games on JV my freshman year, I finally got pulled up to play on the varsity squad, and I was absolutely ecstatic. I ended up playing extremely well my freshman, sophomore, and my junior year. Meanwhile, behind the scenes, my parents worked tirelessly for me and my basketball journey. My sophomore year of high school, I played for a travel basketball team in King of Prussia, Pennsylvania. And every Tuesday and Thursday, my parents would drive me to and from practice. And then on weekends, they would drive me to tournaments far, far away. Needless to say, they did it all for me. My dad would rebound the ball for me any chance he could. He would work out with me anytime I asked him. And they even recorded every single one of my high school basketball games to help me get recruited. By the time I was going into my junior year, I was being recruited by multiple colleges in the surrounding states. I went on multiple private tours and visits on different campuses with coaches. During my senior year, I was playing extremely well, averaging 20 points and 7 assists per game, which at the time was the most in my county. And about halfway into my senior year, I ended up achieving my goal of scoring 1,000 points. 1 goal was down, the second was yet to come. But later that spring, I ended up achieving my second goal after I ended up committing and being recruited to play college basketball at Widener University. I had achieved both my goals, and I was ready to play college ball. When I got to college, COVID-19 was at its peak. We ended up having a shortened season of only playing 9 games. And as a freshman, I appeared in 4 out of those 9 games, and I was getting a good amount of playing time, and I was happy with how my college basketball career was shaping up to be. The trajectory was going up, and everything was going great. Until it wasn't. Going into my sophomore year of college, I suffered a herniated disc in my L4, L5 lumbar spine. This injury put me out for a total of 5 months on the sideline. I could not walk without extreme pain. I could not do everyday activities like put my socks or my shoes on. I remember waking up from many sleepless nights trying to stuff pillows underneath my back to alleviate the pressure of my discs. And the worst part was, I had to attend every practice, every game, and every lift that my team had, and I could not participate in a single thing. For a 19-year-old kid, this absolutely destroyed me psychologically. Slowly but surely, I began to associate the game that I'd always loved with the injury that had become my worst enemy. I don't know how it happened to this day, but I slowly began to hate the sport of basketball, sadly. Again, I heard many times when I played college basketball of people being burnt out of their sport, but I never thought that that could actually happen to me, let alone what it would look like. After 5 months, I was finally cleared to play, but the summer going into my junior year, I didn't pick up a basketball one time. I didn't want anything to do with the game, and I dreaded that I had to return my junior year. But what was I to do? Just 3 years ago, I was on top of the world and I loved the sport. And just 3 years later, it's the exact opposite. As I finally returned to preseason practices for my junior year, those next 2 months were the hardest moments of my life. And I became extremely depressed. I became depressed because I knew that I had to go to 2 practices a day, let alone the entire season, 5 months later. Now, I know what you're thinking. Anthony, dude, it's preseason practices. I think you can get through it. I know. The worst part was that it was all psychological. But I became severely depressed. My family, who I stayed with up at school, knew that something was wrong with me. Why is Anthony walking right to his room when he enters into the house? My participation ceased in class, and I stopped talking to my friends and family as much. After 2 long months of suffering in silence, I finally got the courage to talk to my parents about this issue. And being the good parents that they are, they wanted to see me get the help that I needed. So I ended up seeking out the counseling and psychological services at my school. Now, this helped a lot, but I knew that I still had a decision to make. Was I going to try and tough it out, fight the mental battle every single day of going to practice day in and day out, or was I going to walk away from the sport? But how was I going to walk away from the sport that had been my joy my entire life? How was I going to disappoint the ones closest around me and myself? This only drove my sadness further. But I knew what I had to do. In October 2022, I did decide to walk away from the sport of basketball. And the moment that I did that, it felt like the weight of the world had been lifted off of my shoulders. All the depression, all the anxiety, all the pressure was gone. And when I played basketball, that was my entire identity. But walking away allowed me to pursue other things in life, like involvement in my local church, or working out and exercising at the gym, or my newfound love for the sport of jiu-jitsu, or my new coaching career, as I now coach a boys' high school basketball, tennis, and JV soccer team. Walking away from the sport of basketball was an extremely hard decision due to the tension of not wanting to disappoint my parents, myself, or my loved ones. But I began to realize that these things weren't as important as my own mental sanity. And tonight, I'm here to tell any college athlete that is struggling with some sort of mental health struggle that it's not as important as your mental sanity either. According to an annual NCAA survey in the fall of 2021, it was reported that 24% of male and 36% of female athletes felt so depressed that it was difficult to function. Now, those are staggering numbers. Whether it be just being burnt out of the sport like I was, performance anxiety, or pressure with trying to play up to some sort of standard, or pressure with trying to balance school and athletics, among other reasons. in 2022 alone, student athletes Sarah Schultz, Katie Meyer, Jaden Hill, Robert Martin, and Lauren Bennett all passed away due to suicide. And at my own university, student athlete Paul Donahue also passed away due to suicide. And just this past summer, Terrence Butler of the Drexel men's basketball team right here in Philadelphia also passed away due to suicide. Tonight, I wanted to bring attention to those names, and I also wanted to bring attention to the everyday college athlete that feels like their voice isn't heard, that feels like they have no one to talk to. That's the reason why I'm here tonight, is to be a voice for the unheard. A study done in 2022 showed that 15% of NCAA Division III collegiate athletes suffer from extreme, elevated depressive symptoms. Again, more staggering and scary numbers. When I finally got the courage to talk to my parents about these problems, they did a number of things for me. But one of the things that they did was they joined a local parent Facebook group titled Parents of College Athletes. Now, this Facebook group only had about 15,000 members. It wasn't national, just ordinary parents and kids all across the country. And every single day, my parents would receive testimony after testimony after testimony from parents saying how they can't recognize their own son or their own daughter anymore due to their college sport and how their mental health is depleting because of it. Now, what do we do to fight these issues? Well, there's a number of things. But one of the biggest and most important things, I think, is that professional and famous athletes start and continue to speak out about these issues. Like Tyrell Terry here, who played for the Dallas Mavericks. When he decided to walk away from a $1 million contract his rookie season due to elevated anxiety. Or the famous Simone Biles, who decided to sit out of the 2021 Olympics. We need professional athletes to continue to speak out to help athletes at the lower levels and create a voice for the unheard. Tonight, I'm here to plead with every college athlete that is struggling with mental health issues to go seek help. When I was struggling, I did not think that anyone would want to hear it. I didn't think that anyone would want to talk to me about my problems, but I was surely mistaken. Parents and friends of college athletes, check on your loved ones. You might not always see the warning signs, but that's normal. You're not always going to, and most of the times, you're not. For a kid who's from 19 to 21, college is oftentimes the hardest point in one's life. Then add athletics on top of that. It only gets harder. To the everyday college athlete that is struggling with these issues, know that you are heard, cared for, and loved, and I want to see you get the help that you need. Thank you.